I was at a loss. It was a serious, life-changing situation that could have ended badly in any case. I got drunk during a work trip and fell in love with a predator. He was handsome and witty and knew what to say and when to say it. The next day, I woke up in his bed. I was depressed, but this sweet-talking devil persuaded me, saying that it was just a flash of instant attraction. Neither of us wanted to do this, and we will never talk about it again. I spent the next 3 nights with him. He was an experienced partner, far superior to my husband, mainly because my husband and I were the first to each other. My husband and I tried, read books, and watched relevant materials, but it still ended with the usual moments of intimacy. And that was enough. Before this trip, Dylan was bigger, more demanding, talked rather than asked, and it could last forever. Every time I felt strong emotions, whereas with my husband I was lucky if I got at least one such moment. I returned home, scared and ashamed, confident that my husband would understand everything as soon as he looked at me. But he didn't, assuring me of his love and telling me how much he missed me. We were together that night, and I found myself wanting to yell at him to be more active and do whatever he wanted with me. I never reached the desired state. After waiting for him to start snoring softly, I went to the bathroom to recover from the memories of Dylan. For months have passed, and my novel has sunk into oblivion. When I returned to my apartment, I had to attend another seminar. I almost refused, but I knew that if I refused, I would lose all hope of promotion, so I pulled myself together and decided that if I met Dylan, it would be a purely platonic relationship. I checked in at 6. By 7:30, Dylan had me in hysterics. He just walked in, half tore off my clothes, and had a wild evening. The conference turned into a 3-day and intense morning chat. Once again, Robbie was glad to see me at home, but I was so bored that I almost fell asleep during our evenings together. For months later, the same scenario happened again. I was seriously considering leaving Robbie when Dylan let slip that he was married. I got a promotion, and I didn't have to go to the next convention, even though I warned the woman who took my place to be careful with Dylan. 6 months have passed, and I felt that I was in a good position. I was woken up by a bell when one of the women Robbie worked with started harassing him. It upset him so much that he told me about it, and I freaked out. How dare she? A treacherous woman. It never came to an argument because she was fired, but it scared me. If he had let her trick him, I would have turned into a scorched earth. Then it occurred to me that my closet was full of skeletons, and I mentally wiped the sweat from my forehead. It made me cherish my marriage even more, and I consciously tried to make Robbie happy. I introduced him to a few techniques I had learned from Dylan, saying that I had read about them and they seemed interesting to me. And so it was, even though they never reached the intensity that I experienced with another person. When Robbie returned home, he found a candlelit dinner on the table, and I was wearing attractive underwear. He wondered if he had missed an event, but I reassured him. What's going on? Suddenly, I felt awkward. I want to talk about something important. I've never raised this topic before because I've had to go on business trips, but with my promotion it will only be once, maybe twice a year. I want to. He was grinning. Damn him. He almost always knew what I was thinking, except for one blatant question. Yes, throw away your pills. The dinner I was so worried about was cold, but it was well warmed up. We sat in our dressing gowns, realizing that it would be stupid to get dressed. I knew I was glowing. He seemed happy too, and we were together very often. I've never felt so loved. It's been 4 months, and I still wasn't pregnant. The doctor advised us not to worry, because sometimes it takes longer than expected to remove drugs from the body. My manager called me. Do you know about Julie? She was hit by a guy who ran a red light, and her arm and leg are broken. I know you were happy that you didn't have to travel, but I need you to take the initiative. You are familiar with what is required. Julie should be fine by the next trip. I couldn't say no, so I went home and told Rob about my trip. He was disappointed, but he understood, and I tried to make him happy. After the last time, he relaxed, smiling. That's it. I'm sure you're pregnant now. Mark it in the calendar. We put a big red X on the calendar in his workshop before he took me to the airport. I arrived, settled in, and went to afternoon classes. It was no surprise that I saw Dylan. His grin when he saw me irritated me to no end. He tried to get close several times, but I tried not to let him near me. Eventually, he approached me at dinner. Good to see you. Maybe we can spend some time together later. My answer shocked him. I don't think so, Dylan. You were a wonderful partner and changed my world, but that's in the past. Let's just leave our relationship in pleasant memories. My husband and I want to have a baby, so there's no way I'm going to get into a relationship with you. I can't take any chances. He seemed annoyed. We will be careful. We will use protective equipment, and I know a pharmacist who can give you the drug in the morning. That's not going to happen. I might already be pregnant, so there's no way I'm taking this drug. Protective equipment is tearing. And to be honest, the thought of repeating myself with you makes me uncomfortable. You're still in shape, you look good, and you have great looks, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding a date. He looked shocked by the word, unpleasant. He must have been thinking about it, because he persuaded me to sit with him. He handed me his phone, and I almost fainted. It was a picture of me on my knees, just at the moment when I was helping him. Did you take pictures? You're rude. Dylan grinned. Keep your voice down. I take pictures of all the women I talk to. Do you want to see Julie when I was helping her? No? Then let's get straight to the point. If you don't want this and the rest of my photos of us together to be published, you'll be in my room tomorrow night. I would do it tonight, but I already have someone from the office in Cleveland. He walked away from me, lowering his eyes. Tomorrow. I groaned. I was sitting there in shock. Then I started crying. The waitress saw that I was crying and took me to a small room that was not in use. She asked if I was okay, and as soon as I started, I couldn't stop and told her the whole complicated story. She frowned, then smiled. Wait here. I need you to talk to someone. It will only take a minute and may solve your problem. A few minutes later, she returned, accompanied by a man and a woman. They were not shy in their expressions. The woman ordered me to tell them everything in a firm voice. I was ashamed to admit it, but I was too scared not to. The woman was unperturbed. She sighed and then introduced herself. I'm Captain Rogers Dana, SBI, State Bureau of Investigation, and this is Sergeant Matthews. What we have heard is a form of blackmail, more specifically called involuntary coercion. It's a Class F felony in this state. A guilty verdict can result in heavy fines and prison sentences ranging from 10 to 41 months. If we follow this path, the information will be revealed. It's impossible. I'm going to lose my husband for sure. Matthews spoke up. Everything can go differently. People who do this rarely think about the consequences. When faced with criminal charges, they usually give up. We can work on that. Please. Captain Rogers sat there, thinking. It seemed to me that she was judging me, but I could put up with it if it would solve my problem. Good. We'll set up an ambush. It won't be an official act of our department, and I'll do it as a favor for my sister. However, if you find yourself in a formal situation, you will have to press charges. Otherwise, we will not be able to help you. They left, and I looked at the waitress. She smiled. Honey, I was in the same situation a while ago. Dana helped me, but this man sent the photos to my husband out of spite and didn't ask for anything in return. My husband and I separated for 9 months. I've just returned, and I'm trying not to get into situations that could jeopardize my marriage. I'm on a very short leash, but that's the price I'm willing to pay. The next day, Dylan sat and smiled. I tried to avoid him as much as possible. He insisted that I have dinner with him. I made a conscious effort to look as attractive as possible, to lift him up, showing a small cleavage between my breasts and exposing my hips when I sat down. He grinned at me. I'm glad you're making an effort. It'll be just like the good old days. No, that's not going to happen. It's not consensual. You're forcing me into a close relationship with you. Strength is such a strong formulation. I prefer to say that this is a forced meeting, but it will end soon. As if I believe that. Are you saying that you won't try the same thing if we ever get in close proximity again? His grin unnerved me. Maybe, but you know you like it. I remember how free you were. It won't take you long to feel it again. I started to act. Look me in the eye and tell me that you know you're doing the wrong thing. Admit that it's a compulsion. Dylan laughed. That's exactly what it is. It will give me even more pleasure. He looked at me as I laughed, wondering what I was thinking. His eyes widened when 2 agents joined us. Dylan Thomas Renner, you are under investigation for attempted coercion and intent to commit a crime. Please follow us quietly. If you come with us voluntarily, we will give up the handcuffs. If you run away, we will use force and pull you out in handcuffs in front of your colleagues. You don't have any proof. My lawyer. He will run away as soon as he hears the recording. Dylan glared at me. You little one. Did you write it down? This will never be accepted in court. Captain Dana laughed. They'll definitely accept you, dumbass. Besides the fact that we are involved in a criminal investigation, the principle of unilateral consent applies in this state, which means that as long as one of you knows, it is legal. Now I suggest you shut up. As for the trial, if you are found guilty, you will automatically face a prison sentence of 1 to 3 years, plus any fines that the judge appoints. He looked like he was about to lose consciousness when they took him to an empty room and left him under the gaze of Sergeant Matthews for about 20 minutes. Interrogation. Rogers came in, leading me. Listen carefully. Mrs. Marshall agreed to drop the charges under certain conditions. Are you ready to listen? He couldn't nod fast enough. Good. She will drop the charges if you delete all of her photos from your phone, home computer, cloud storage, or any other device. You will immediately delete them in our presence. Is that clear? His look spoke for itself, but he agreed. Matthews opened the laptop, plugged it in, pushed it aside, and stood behind it. They were almost done when Matthews grabbed his arm. Come back. Renner protested, but Matthews was insistent. There were more photos of 3 other women, and he had to delete them all. 40 minutes later, everything was ready. Rogers stood up. We will keep information about your attempt to coerce Mrs. Marshall in our records, just in case something happens. No matter how much it hurts, you can leave. Mr. Renner, I suggest you reconsider your lifestyle and make changes. One day you may encounter an offended husband or professional troubles. I see you have an engagement ring, and experience shows that the pieces can fly in all directions when something becomes public. The conference ends in 48 hours, and I advise you to behave yourself. I stood behind her, grinning as she explained something, and the looks he was giving me were intense. I returned home, trying to forget this terrible event. My husband was surprised by how abruptly I behaved that evening. It was my way of confirming our affection for each other. Despite the mistakes of the past, I truly loved him. He must have been right about the date of the baby's birth. Because 8.5 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful boy. 2 years later, a girl was born, who joined our family. Many years later, I had to attend another conference as a vice president to receive an award. We decided to see the city with the whole family. The conference was held on Thursday and Friday, and we booked Monday and Tuesday as a mini vacation. Gail was 12, and her body was gradually changing. Mick was almost 14, and he was already taller than both of his parents. He took after my father. We had our own meetings, and I enjoyed talking to people I hadn't seen in years. Then I turned around and saw him. Dylan. The years had not spared him. He was bald and overweight. I happened to notice that he wasn't wearing an engagement ring, and I thought that his wife probably left him many years ago. Dylan. Hello. I prefer Amy. Should I call you something else? I see you're not wearing a ring. Did she catch you cheating? When he answered, there was pain in his words. No, I caught her. I thought it was karmic payback for all my past mistakes, but I kept a neutral expression on my face. I'm really sorry to hear that. Thanks to us, I almost lost my husband. Will there be any problems? He blushed, but his voice was steady. No. You stay on your side, and I'll stay on mine. I nodded. Good luck, Dylan. I turned and walked away, smiling as I approached my husband. He saw me talking to Dylan and smiled. Who is this middle-aged guy? I met him at my very first seminar. Besides, he's 3 years younger than us. When we first met, he had thick hair and was much slimmer. I don't think life has treated him kindly. Rob gave him a more critical look before smiling again. If life has treated him badly, then you have been treated as an important person. You don't look any older than the day we met. Perhaps he had never had a good woman to begin with. I was lucky. My eyes filled with tears as I hugged him tightly. Now I hated my mistakes more than ever, wondering how I could risk the love of a good man for nothing. We were lucky. Speaking of luck, I hope the babysitter tired the kids out today. He spent the rest of the evening smiling like an idiot, a very desirable, loving idiot. I held his hand in the elevator, thanking God for his mercy and affirming my devotion to my family. 10 years later, I sat next to my husband and watched my son marry his beloved. She had a career that included traveling, and we were about to have an important conversation. I thought about it. The memories were unpleasant. Our company had an electronic bulletin board where they congratulated employees on their birthdays, weddings, and personal achievements. All the branches were represented on it, and I saw a message saying that Dylan had passed away at the age of 46. There were no details, so I did some digging and found out that he was hit by a car when he was running across the street, fleeing from his companion's husband. The car was traveling at 50 miles an hour and hit him to his death. I was sad that he wasted his life living this way. Fortunately, I was distracted by the words. You can congratulate the newlyweds. Dylan has disappeared from my memories. I hope you will never come back.